You're standing in a fish market. The sun is already hot. Someone behind you is arguing about the price of bread. You're annoyed. You're hungry. You're thinking about getting home. You have 3 hours and 14 minutes left to live. Today is August 24th, 79 AD. And like you, every single one of Pompeii's 16,000 people woke up this morning thinking it was just another day. None of them heard the clock. The Bay of Naples catches fire before the sun even clears the horizon. Pink. Then gold. Then blinding white. Pompeii's fishermen are already out on the water, casting nets in the dark, the way their fathers did, and their fathers before them. This city has been here for 700 years. 7 centuries of sunrises. 7 centuries of fish markets and wine harvests. And children being born in rooms that still smell of the last birth. You don't question a city that old. You trust it. You assume it will simply continue. Down at the docks, the first cargo ships of the day are already being unloaded. Pompeii is not some quiet seaside town. It is one of the beating commercial hearts of the entire Roman Empire. Every morning, goods from 3 continents arrive at this port. Silk from China, passing through a dozen hands before reaching here. Spices from India, that cost more than a soldier earns in a month. Grain from Egypt, that keeps the empire from starving. This morning, like every morning, the business of the world is happening here. And 5 miles away, Mount Vesuvius stands in perfect silence, covered in vineyards all the way to its summit. The grapes that grow on those slopes, fed by centuries of volcanic minerals in the soil, produce wines so extraordinary. Produce wines so extraordinary that emperors request it by name. The mountain has given Pompeii everything. Its wealth. Its identity. Nobody in this city knows the mountain is a tomb waiting to open. Walk through Pompeii at 7 in the morning, and you walk through organized, beautiful chaos. The bakeries hit first. Before you see them, you smell them. Stone ovens that have burned since before midnight, turning out thousands of round loaves. That will feed this city today. The bakers work fast, their arms dusted white to the elbows, slapping dough onto hot surfaces, with the confidence of people who have done this 10,000 times. The Thermopolia, Pompeii's version of a fast food counter, are opening their shutters. These are built into the walls of buildings. Stone counters with circular holes cut into them, each hole containing a large clay pot of food kept warm from beneath. Lentil stew, spiced wine, roasted meat. Pompeii's working class doesn't cook at home the way the wealthy do. They eat here, standing at these counters, before heading to work. Archaeologists have found over 80 of these counters in Pompeii. Every single one of them was abandoned mid-service on this day. In the wealthier district, a different kind of mourning is happening. The villas here are enormous, built around open courtyards with marble fountains, walls covered in paintings so detailed and so vivid that when they're excavated 1,700 years later, the colors are still wet-looking. A merchant is meeting with his accountant in the front room, reviewing yesterday's ledgers. His wife is giving instructions to household slaves about the evening's dinner party. They're expecting 12 guests, and the peacock needs to be prepared by midday. Everything is scheduled. Everything is normal. 3 miles away, deep under the mountain, the pressure has been building for months. Here is the thing about disaster that history keeps teaching us, and we keep refusing to learn. It always whispers before it screams. For the past 4 days, Pompeii has been experiencing earthquakes. Small ones, mostly. The kind that make hanging lamps sway. And cause light sleepers to wake briefly, before turning over and going back to sleep. This is normal. Or at least, it feels normal. The ground shakes here sometimes. It always has. What the people of Pompeii don't know, what they have no way of knowing, is that the Roman Empire has no word for volcano. The concept doesn't exist yet in any language they speak. Vesuvius has not erupted in recorded memory. As far as every living person in this city is concerned, it is simply a mountain. A generous, fertile, beautiful mountain. There are other signs that morning. Ones they notice but don't know how to read. The wells have gone strange. Several of them, scattered across the city, have simply run dry overnight, or begun producing water that smells of sulfur. People complain. Someone sends a slave to find a different source. Problem solved. The birds are gone. Not fewer birds. No birds. A city this size, this close to the sea, would normally be alive with the sound of them every morning. This morning, silence. Dogs are refusing to enter certain streets, pulling against their leads, whining, trying to go in any direction except toward the mountain. Their owners curse at them and drag them along. By 10 a.m., the forum is at full capacity. Lawyers arguing cases, merchants closing deals, candidates for local office pressing flesh and making promises. The theater has a comedy scheduled for this evening. The amphitheater is preparing for gladiatorial games. The crowd is expected to be the largest of the summer. The city is, by every measure, at the absolute peak of its normal, ordinary, magnificent life. At precisely 1 in the afternoon, Vesuvius stops whispering. The explosion is not like thunder. Thunder you recognize. Thunder has a shape, a beginning and an end, a familiar meaning. This sound has no meaning your brain can find a category for. It is the sound of 4 cubic kilometers of rock being shattered simultaneously. It is pressure that has been building for centuries, releasing in a single second. People standing in the forum look up. Then they look toward the mountain. And what they see makes no sense. A column. Black. Enormous. Impossibly tall. Is rising from Vesuvius. Not smoke. Not like any smoke anyone has ever seen. It is rising at 600 meters per second. Punching into the sky like something launched. Like the mountain has become a weapon pointed at the heavens. It will eventually reach 32 kilometers into the atmosphere. So high it enters the stratosphere. Pliny the Younger, 17 years old, is watching from the naval base at Misenum, across the bay, roughly 30 kilometers away. He watches and he writes. He's the reason we know what this looked like. The only eyewitness account to survive. He describes the column as shaped like a pine tree, narrow at the base, then spreading wide at the top, where the force disperses. An image so precise that geologists today use the term Plinian eruption in his honor. 2,000 years later, in Pompeii, the first reaction is not panic. It is paralysis. People stand in the streets, heads tilted back, staring up at something their minds cannot process. This takes longer than you might think. The human brain resists information that has no existing framework to hang it on. Several minutes pass. Maybe longer. People standing completely still, while the column climbs higher. Then the sky goes dark. Midday becomes midnight. And then it starts to rain. Pumice is a strange substance, formed when lava cools so fast that gas is trapped inside it. Pumice is volcanic rock that actually floats on water. Light, porous, almost delicate looking. The eruption is throwing 1.5 million tons of it into the sky every single second. And gravity is bringing it back down directly onto Pompeii. It sounds, at first, like hail. Then like someone emptying an infinite bag of gravel onto every surface simultaneously. Tiles crack. Awnings sag and then buckle. The stone streets, which Pompeii is justly famous for, wide and well paved, disappear under gray-white rubble that accumulates while you watch. The crucial fact about this phase is the one that determines who lives and who dies. The pumice, at this stage, is survivable. It falls at roughly 25 kilometers per hour. Fast enough to hurt. Not fast enough to kill on contact. It's not particularly hot when it reaches ground level. A person with covered head and protected skin, moving with purpose, can survive this. The city has hours. People have choices. What they do right now, in the next 60 minutes, will decide everything. History in this moment sorts the people of Pompeii into categories that will feel familiar. There are those who leave immediately. They grab children, grab elderly parents, take only what they can carry without slowing down, and they go. They pour through the city gates in their thousands. North toward Naples. East into the countryside. South towards Stabi. The roads out of Pompeii are unlike anything anyone alive has ever seen. Rivers of frightened humanity, moving as fast as fear can push them. Roughly 2/3 of Pompeii's population escapes this way. History does not record their names. Then there are those who hesitate. A wealthy merchant stands in his atrium, looking at a room that represents his entire life's achievement. The furniture, the art, the strongboxes of gold coins. He cannot leave it. He begins to pack. He will still be packing when he runs out of time. Archaeologists will find him centuries later, slumped over those same coins, the bags still clutched in hands that could no longer run. There are people who shelter in place by choice, convinced that Pompeii's thick stone walls, which have survived earthquakes before, will survive this. They choose cellars, windowless rooms, the deepest interior spaces they can find. Roman construction is extraordinary. It will protect them, they reason. This will pass. And there are those who have no choice at all. In several locations across the city, archaeologists have found something that stops the breath when you understand what you're seeing. Skeletons still wearing iron collars, still shackled, found in the rooms where they were locked. Their masters left. They could not follow. By late afternoon, Pompeii is unrecognizable. The streets, those magnificent, wide, well-engineered streets, are buried under 2 meters of pumice. The city above ground is effectively gone. The landmarks people used their whole lives to navigate have disappeared. Anyone who has waited too long to leave now faces a different, more terrible calculation. The weight of accumulated ash is beginning to collapse the rooftops. You can hear them going. A crack. Then a groan. Then a sound like a wave breaking, as another roof gives in, and the building below becomes a tomb. The stone that was supposed to protect the people sheltering inside becomes the thing that kills them. The eruption, now 7 hours old, shows no sign of slowing. It is, in fact, intensifying. 12 hours after the eruption began, the column collapses. The physics of this are brutal. A Plinian column is essentially a sustained explosion. So long as the force continues, the column holds. When it weakens, gravity wins. 300 billion cubic meters of superheated material that was suspended kilometers in the air simply falls. What falls is called a pyroclastic surge. It is not lava. It is not ash in the way you might imagine ash. It is a wave of superheated gas and rock particles, moving at 700 kilometers per hour, at temperatures between 300 and 800 degrees Celsius. Nothing in its path survives. Nothing. The first surge reaches Herculaneum, a smaller city 4 kilometers from the crater, closer to Vesuvius than Pompeii. Over 300 people had gathered at the boathouses on the beach, waiting for ships that were supposed to rescue them from the water. The surge finds them there. Forensic analysis of their remains, done in the 1980s, found evidence of something that will not leave you once you know it. Their deaths were instantaneous, so fast that their brains vaporized. Before the pain signal could travel, they felt nothing. This is the small mercy in an otherwise unmerciful night. At 6:30 in the morning, after 17 hours of eruption, the surge turns toward Pompeii. The people still alive in the city at this point, perhaps 2,000, scattered through cellars and inner rooms across the city, have endured something beyond the capacity of language to fully capture. 17 hours of darkness, of falling rock, of collapsing buildings, of the earth shaking, of not knowing if the people they love are alive or dead somewhere out there in the ash. Many of them have been praying. Many of them have been believing, with the stubborn and astonishing resilience that humans always seem to find, that they are going to survive this. That dawn will bring the end of it. That the mountain will stop. That the rescue ships will come. The surge does not give them time to understand that they were wrong. Moving faster than any human being can run. Hotter than any fire any of them has ever seen. It rolls over the outskirts of Pompeii, and then through the city itself. In the most protected spots, deep interior rooms, behind multiple layers of walls. Some people survive this first surge, burned and choking but still alive. The fourth surge, at around 7:30 in the morning, finishes what the others began. By 8 a.m., Pompeii is gone. 15 feet of ash. Silence. No birds. Because there are no trees. No people. Because there are no people. The coastline has shifted. The geography of the entire bay has been rewritten overnight. For 1,700 years, Pompeii simply isn't there. When excavations begin in 1748, they uncover something that makes archaeologists stop and sit down and struggle to find words for what they're looking at. Not a ruin in the way that ruins usually are. Crumbled, degraded, picked clean by centuries of scavengers and weather and time. But a city caught. Frozen. Bread in the ovens. Food still on tables. Political graffiti on walls. From an election campaign that never concluded. A dog in the middle of a street. Preserved in the exact spiral of its final moment. And the people. Not skeletons in the way you might imagine. Jumbled, collapsed. Reduced to scattered bones. The ash that buried them hardened around them as they lay. When the organic material inside decayed over centuries, it left a perfect void in the shape of the body at its last moment. The archaeologists learned to fill these voids with plaster. What emerged were people. Real people. A man shielding his face with his arm. A woman who died holding her children. Two people curled together, facing each other. They had warning. They had hours. They had signs they didn't read. And time they didn't use. And choices that turned out to be wrong. And here is the thing that Pompeii keeps trying to tell us. Every time we look at those plaster figures in their glass cases, we would have done exactly the same things. We would have thought the mountain would stop. We would have thought our houses would hold. We would have thought we had more time. That's not weakness. That's being human. It's what humans have always done. Standing at the edge of the unimaginable. Trying to make it make sense with the understanding we have. Pompeii is not a story from another world. It is a mirror.